Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes, and welcome back to Tales of Phantasia. Last time, we traveled back to the present day to save Tornix and Chester from Dowse. And we also got a message that Dowse is causing havoc in the future, so no time like the present, teehee, to head to the future and find Dowse and take him out once and for all. As for today, we're going to be exploring a little bit of the future, see what it has to offer for us. For starters, we're going to be getting this large food sack from this lady here. You know how I said that the medium sack gave you 2,000 units of food? This one allows you to hold up to 20,000, 10 times the amount. That is awesome. I mean, sure, it was highly expensive. As a matter of fact, that's what the description said. It was kind of funny. But yeah, now we can hold a lot more food than we could before. Granted, that doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, because gold is going to start becoming a little bit scarce, because things are going to start getting a little expensive, like weapons and equipment. We're going to be spending more money than I wish we could did later on. It's a real pain in the butt when you realize that all the weapons and equipment you're trying to get are expensive. On top of the combo techs you still have to purchase, which there are actually 2 in this town, in the town of Miguel. They mentioned this last part that this town was named after Kless's father, which I guess is kind of cool. It's a real shame he passed away the way he did. Now that I think about it, if this town is named after him and he passed, who had the idea to do that? Like, did he leave that much of an impact so someone decided to go out of their way and reforge this town into what is known as Miguel? At the very least, after those jerks that attacked this place. I don't even remember that one guy's name that killed everyone. That Dowse sort of just shoved off because he had no use for. Anyway, this old man's yapping about trying to go to a coliseum. Take note of that, because we're actually going to be doing a little side quest with the Coliseum. I'm sure you have an idea as to what that's going to be, but I'll explain that when we get to it. Anyway, go into that dresser and you'll get the Mecha Blade combo tech. This thing is pretty awesome. It's not elemental based, so you're not going to have any advantages, but at the same time, there's no, like, resistances, because it's just a normal attack. And what's cool about it is that it's a very, very fluent combo attack. It's really good. It's one of the more effective combo techs you're gonna get at this point in the game. As for the other combo tech, though, we gotta go to Kless's old house. I mean, it's not his house anymore, as a matter of fact. So I'm sure some random guy is now in charge of it without any, like, history. It's like, oh, okay, I guess you're in charge. I don't know who you are, but it's cool that you're teaching people the way of the sword. I love how what they're teaching them is, oh, damn. I can't seem to remember, that fighting. It was some sort of, sword style from this, show called Rurouni Kenshin. I'm sure some of you watched it. It's a pretty good show. At least until that abrupt ending that made no damn sense. But yeah, I don't remember the fighting style that was used in that show. Or well, besides the obvious one used by Kenshin himself. Now that combo, that little controller input, I don't exactly know if that does anything. I've yet to try it out for myself. See if it actually does anything. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually give it a shot and see what happens. But anyway, you talk to this guy, he'll ask if you want to practice your swordplay here. Kless will be like, no, I'm good, I'm pretty awesome with swords. And that guy instead will sell you a combo tech or a flare talon. Which is Phoenix and dual kick. There we go. I already have it mastered, but it's not one I recommend because it's fire based. So I'd rather stick with the Mecha Blade. I guess Era's Love is something I'm not gonna need, considering how rare I use it, and I already have a white mage to do the healing for me. Not to mention, Air's Love takes a bit of time to use for not a whole lot of HP. I don't know, it seems inconsequential when you think about it. Cleth he benefits from his combo attacks, attacks that allow him to do fancy attacks rather than actually, like, supporting stuff. I guess Focus is good, it increases your attack and speed, but Mint also has haste, so we don't need that anymore either. There was another tech, I forgot what it was called, it like essentially was a shield. Yeah, I forgot what it was called. It was probably not important. Anyway, Chester's finally back in the team. It's not as good as you would think, though. In fact, it's not good at all. Few problems with this. One, I didn't mention this in the beginning of the Let's Play because it didn't have as much of an impact back then. It has a huge impact, and it's also a huge problem at this point in the game. He has no tech points because he doesn't learn any techs. Not a single one. Also, we got Dark Vines here. Dark Vines are just stronger variants of the Vines. And they can also cause paralysis when they attack. Not all the time, but they can. Also, they're impervious to electric, to lightning magic, so indignation isn't going to do anything. And yeah, Chester can't learn anything. I don't understand that. At least in the Super Famicom version of this game, when this gets ported to the Game Boy Advance, which does a lot of things with the combat, it makes combat a little bit more fluently, it also gives Chester some actual techs. His first tech in Point is known as Hellfire. He shoots an arrow that's engulfed in flames, and not only does it deal a fair amount of damage, I think it also pierces enemies too. Such a missed opportunity with this. Chester feels so, like, unremarkable compared to what the characters we have. You've got Clark who can summon spirits of the elements, and then there's, like, Maxwell, who's the king of the elements. I say that, but he doesn't really have any elemental properties. Archie learns a plethora of spells, which some kick ass to some don't. Mint is an incredibly awesome white mage, and Kless knows how to use a sword incredibly well. Chester just shoots an arrow. Fascinating. I guess his fair, comfortable amount of power can complement that, but it doesn't make up for the fact that he's very unremarkable. Also, dino bugs and oozes. Dino bugs are just like the flies, and oozes are just like the slimes. I love how we're just getting stronger variants of enemies rather than new enemies at this point. I guess I can't blame them because it's just old enemies and they never really stick out. At least in my head, anyways. Now, that's problem number one. Problem number two. You notice when we acquired Chester, when I put him into the party, he is level 7. He is at the same exact level that we left him at when we went to the past. That is another problem. Well, our characters are well above level 40, in the mid-40s. And we get another member of our squad. Also, the frame drops incredibly bad here. You see the amount of enemies that spawned into this fight? It is horrible. Like, my goodness, there was so much, in fact, if you notice that some of the mole men were flickering, like their sprites were disappearing. Were fading in and out. It was weird. Note to self, be careful when you're fighting a lot of enemies, because that frame rate could drop like nobody's business. Yeah, mole men and, what was it, eagles? I don't even remember, but they're not much different. Now we've got G-Wasps, which are just like the bees and the hornets. Now these have a little distinct feature, and they become a little bit more of a threat than the other ones are. They can actually shoot their stingers, as projectiles, so Instead of actually trying to get up close to you and stinging you as a close range attack, they can now use longer range attack. So they can be a little bit more intimidating. Not more difficult, just intimidating, because they're about as frail as the bees and hornets are. But back on the subject at hand. You get to this point in the game, you're leveled up significantly, you fought Douse of all people, twice even. You've got all these spirits, you engage in a war, and you get another member of your party who's level 7. Archa even makes a point, points this out when she comments that Chester looks kind of scrawny. It's probably not just cosmetic that she's saying that. It's like, you look like a twig. No, in gameplay, he practically is a twig, because this part of the game really stinks, because it really shows how far you've come compared to the character you sort of left for dead back at the beginning of the game. I said left for dead, but it's not like we actually had a choice. We were sort of sent there by Forest Tornix. We ended up saving Chester in the end, but still, it didn't benefit us much. I mean, it was nice for, friendship's sake. We saved our best friend, but Chester's by the end of the game, he's the most useless character. I'm not a fan of this. In later Tales of games, they do fix this, at the very least. Like this whole idea of getting a character later on, like a character leaving and then coming back later. There is a character in question in the game Tales of Phantasia, but I'm not going to go into full detail until I get to that game, because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah. The other thing that baffles me is that, you know how I said in the Game Boy Advance version they give Chester text? Well, they don't compliment his level though. He is still at level 7 when you first get him. I don't get that, it's stupid. I'm sorry, I've been ranting for a while. This is Uselid. Not much different from the Uselid in the past. As a matter of fact, I think the castle that's here was also in the present Uselid. Or past Uselid. I don't remember though. Or at the very least, I don't remember ever having to go to that castle. There was no reason for me to. There was something else I wanted to show off in this part, but unfortunately, I sort of forgot to do that. So I'll be showing it off next. Is the next part or the part afterwards? I think it's the next part actually. It's a really cool little nuance, but nuance that makes it sound negative. I don't know how I'm wording this. It's a nice little. Damn, I can't think of the word all of a sudden. Anyway, it's very cool. You'll see it when we get to it. There's also the laboratory and the one building that we couldn't get to. So yeah, we won't be getting there anytime soon. What I do recommend doing when it comes to Chester though, equip him with any of Kless's old stuff to make him less frail. I guess the good thing about him being so low leveled is that when you're fighting in the overworld with him and your party, he's gonna rank up the levels like nobody's business. So it's only a matter of time before he catches up, sort of, but he's still not very good. What's the point of giving me 4 characters that can learn these awesome attacks and then give me this character that's just sort of mediocre? Anyway, we're in the castle. Well, we're outside of the castle, usually. There's only really one thing we came here for, which is to talk to the king. I wanted to believe that there was some other significance with the people in this castle, like maybe someone would have some information, someone would have an item. No, it's all rambling. Like, ugh. It's cool that we get all these NPCs we can interact with. It's a real shame, though, because there's so darn many. You feel compelled to talk to everyone, but you don't really get anything out of it. It just feels like a waste of time. At least in Pokemon, the majority of the NPCs had something of value. With this game, I feel like there were more NPCs than necessary because a lot of them don't have anything interesting to say. I feel really bad for whoever had to write the lines for every single individual NPC in this game. Because a lot of them is it's just random garbage that isn't really important to you. And again, with Pokemon, at least a good chunk of the NPCs had something of value, whether it was an item, a trade, whatever. Who are you? Greetings, Your Majesty. We are travelers looking for a way to defeat Douse. So you're the courageous band who's been causing such a ruckus. Alvinius' king has told me all about you. I'm King Charles the Eighth. Courage? I'm only doing this because it's fun. Archie, we're in front of royalty here. Please try to be polite. It's quite alright. Sometimes I wish people weren't so polite around me. Please, allow me to make a small donation to your cause. Oh, Your Highness, we couldn't. Oh, but you must. Useless has no armor, but we do have plenty of money in the treasury. I have to depend on you to defeat Douse. And we get 80,000 gold from Useless treasury. That's pretty awesome. Now, it looks like a lot, it does, but unfortunately the king's right. It's a small donation because, as I mentioned earlier, the equipment and weapons are gonna start selling you gets rather expensive, and with that small donation, you ain't doing much. Like, it's very obsolete compared to what we were able to purchase in the previously. Like, about maybe a couple of hours before this, I'm sure 80,000 would be great, but and by the time within the next few parts, you're actually going to see me run out of money, almost. Because there's this really awesome equipment that I'd try to buy for Clef specifically, but I don't have enough money for all of it. I only have enough money for one. Granted, that doesn't make me completely broke, but the fact that I don't have anything else to do with the gold is... It bites. Also, this is Bart's old house. I guess that I'm surprised the house is still here, but... Apparently the old man didn't want us in the house, but without consequence, we slept in his bed anyway. Also, now that I think about it, that guy lives by himself. Why does he have two beds? I don't know, I'm just curious. Also, Harmel is gone. We won't know that from the present, because we never go up this far in the present. The farthest we've gone was, I don't remember how far we've gone. When it came to the present. No, it's probably not that important. Anyway, we finally managed to get to Venezia, and I think just like that, we're going to be calling it a wrap here. We made some progress. We found a few new enemies. We managed to get some sort of use out of Chester, but that's about it. Anyways, next time on Tales of Phantasia, we're going to be going to the Venezia harbor in hopes of catching a boat to Alvanista.